My name's Kerry Ainsworth, and my company is Bask Development Group. My website is BuiltByBask, and that's B-A-S-K. I've been building homes since 1990. That's a long time. I was a vice president for a very large builder doing 500 homes a year. I did that for 10 years, and before that, in 2015, I went out on my own, and I've been doing customs and multifamily since then. For 10 years, 500 homes a year. That's 5,000 houses. That's a lot of units. I'm also a master builder certified by the National Association of Home Builders. I really like building custom homes. I like the creativity of it. Every home I build for my clients is a one-off. It's a prototype. It's never been built before. And there's a lot of moving parts to that, as anybody can imagine. We're taking a one-dimensional plan that we create, and then I have to turn it into a three-dimensional product. We have to be able to pick out all the colors and specs and everything in it. You know, that's where the creativity comes in. It looks good on paper, but when you bring that out of the ground and you have to get it into that three-dimensional world, you know, things change, and you have to have the experience and the knowledge to be able to deal with that. And then you've got your clients that want to change things, so you have to be able to have the knowledge to be able to make that happen and keep them happy. I think one of the things that is really dynamic about being a builder, a custom builder, is that scenario of taking a one-dimensional plan and turning it into three-dimensional and come out of the ground with it. You've got to be able to, first of all, sell yourself to the client and build faith in them that they want to hire you, and then you have to keep that faith throughout the whole project. And one of the problems with that is you're spending the money for a year, you're bringing something out of the ground and creating something that's never been created, and you've got to keep their hope and dream alive. And at the end of the day, when you're done and you hand them the keys and they're ready to move in, they still need to love you because you're handling all their money. Hundreds of thousands of dollars, sometimes millions or more. And that's a very hard road to hoe because a lot of things happen during construction, and I've been blessed to be able to do that with every one of my clients. And every home I've built, I never hardly ever have to go back, because I pride myself in doing it right the first time. I don't cut corners, I build quality.
Kerry's been great to work with. I think one of the things I like most about him is his enthusiasm. You would think this is his house. He's so excited about everything and making it the best that he can. I think he does a great job of looking for new things that we hadn't thought of when we did the plans and ways to improve it, make it decorative. Yet he's also helping be aware of the budget and making sure that he knows I've got a limit, and he's doing his best to stick to that.
And I'm on the job every day. I've got clients that can attest to that they don't ever have to look for me. I'm there. I like that world. I like the creativity. I like the clients. I like watching their face light up at every stage. But the best part of it is at the end of the journey when we're done and they're ready to move in and the house is 100% complete and it's beautiful and it's all its glory, and when they get to move in. It took me a long time to realize what effect I have on people, because I changed their life dramatically. I have created a new world for them and a new home for them and their family to raise. That's a big responsibility, and I think a lot of builders take that for granted. I learned early on not to do that, and I think that's one of the biggest rewards in this industry and in my profession, is the change and the challenge, and then the effect I have on these people's lives. It's pretty good. It's pretty rewarding. There's a lot of ways to do it. You search online, you search websites, you search Facebook, and a lot of referral from people that have built homes with builders. But once you do find the builder and you've got one or two in the queue that you want to talk to, I think it's important that you write down your questions and get a good interview with them, more than one usually. And then once you're happy and confident with the builder you've chosen, you need to be able to have access to the very last house he built and be able to talk to that client. Because as a builder and a pool builder and any of these people in this industry, we're only as good as the last house we built. We can show you a portfolio of 10 homes, but you really need to talk to that last house that we built.
We decided it was time to build, looked around at other lots and found the names of people that were building, and then looked on the website, Googled some names, called a bunch of people, and in the end, just really liked him and liked his enthusiasm and what he had to say.
You said he was building houses.
Yeah, he was building a house across the street, had his name sign out there, and we took his number from that and gave him a call, and it's been great working with him. He's done a great job.
Yeah, so if anybody's ever done this before, they'll tell you that, you know, a lot of people don't realize that you have to have two loans. You have to have a mortgage. You get qualified for the mortgage first, and then the interim will follow. And not all banks do interims. Veterans, for instance, can get a mortgage anywhere, but not all the banks that do VA loans can do interims, so that's important. I would recommend to stay away from the publicly traded national banks because they're very hard to deal with. And if you're doing an interim loan, you have to make interim draws, and that's where they get very difficult to deal with. And usually when you go into a publicly traded national bank, the guy you're talking to can't make decisions. So I would really recommend doing a privately held hometown bank. The loan officer you're talking to probably has a lot of leeway, and their interim processes for making construction draws are very easy to work with usually and typically. The other big deal is once you've done all that and you start construction and how you handle your money. The biggest liability for a client in this industry, other than getting a crappy house built for them, is how you handle the money with the builder. There's two types of contracts to get in to use in this construction business. One is called a turnkey contract, which is one I would not recommend doing. That means that you hire the builder and he gives you a flat price to build this home with his fees built into it. And you're going to be giving him large sums of money on every draw. So you're going to be upside down the whole time with him. And once you give the builder your money and he puts it in his bank account, it's no longer your money. And you have to have faith and hope and prayers above that he's going to do what he's supposed to do with that money. But greed sometimes gets a hold of them. There's horror stories throughout this industry and through every market how a builder absconded with the client's money. Then the other type of contract's a cost plus contract. And the contract that I recommend is the one that I build under. Cost is defined as the actual brick, sticks, concrete, all of that cost. The plus is what the builder makes. The client has to realize that this is their home, this is their money, this is their land. They need to handle their money. So you don't give the builder any checks or any money other than what he's earned in his contract. You, as the client, write all the checks to all the subs and all the banks. And that way you know who got paid, when they got paid, how much they got paid. And that way the builder cannot take your money and do what he wants to do with it. Now the only drawback to that is you have to be financially involved. But again, it's your property, it's your money, and it's your land that you're building on. And I think that warrants the client handling that money. So those are the steps and the things that I think that are very important when you hire a builder. And if a builder is not willing to work under those conditions, that's not the builder you need to use. So on a cost plus contract, the typical percentage, it goes by a percentage typically. Sometimes it could be a flat fee, the percentage goes for the builder fee on percentages goes according to the cost of the home. Like for me, if I'm building somebody a home under $750,000, I'm probably going to be at 15%. If I get closer to the seven figures, I'm going to get closer to 10%. If it gets over $1 million, I'll be at 10%. So as we build, let's just say we pour the foundation, I get the invoice from the foundation company. I turn that into the client along with my invoice at 10%. They write the checks to the concrete company. Sometimes they mail them and I'll direct that, or they'll give it to me to hand off to the subcontractor. And then they'll write me a check off of my invoice. But that's the simple way to handle it. And at the end of the day, if I'm at cost plus 10%, and we do a budget, I do a budget for the home. I do my budget off of all the engineering plans and the architectural plans and the selections that my client picks out. And I do a full-blown budget for a lot of reasons. One, that gives us our sheet of music to dance to, but also if you're borrowing money, the bank's going to need that anyway, along with my contract. I'll do an estimation of what we think the house is going to cost, and then I'll do it at 10%, and then it'll show on my contract what 10% equals out of that estimated cost of the home. So it's pretty black and white. If there's any changes, I like to do a change order most of the time if we've changed something off of our specs or our engineering. But another thing that a builder has to be able to do, and it only comes with experience, he can't get this, like overnight, is that it almost happens on every custom home. the client will come to you and they want to change something, and it's usually for the better, or maybe not. But the builder needs to have enough experience to coach them and counsel them and let them know the good, the bad, and the ugly of the change, right? And what is it going to cost them, and what does that entail? A lot of times, if I fully engineer a home, so if they're wanting to do something structural, I've got to get an engineer letter on it. Once I get the engineer letter at their expense, because an engineer letter costs you money, then I'll evaluate the cost of it and tell them that it's a good move or it's not a good move. And if it's not a good move, you got to have the experience to be able to tell them why it's not a good move. Because I have coached and taught a lot of builders through my years, and I have a 36 rule. And I always tell my builders when I'm training them the 36 rule. So anytime that you're running into something in a home, whether it's a change or a complication or something, you got to think of 36. 30 being, if I make this change or I don't make this change, what's going to happen on this project in 30 days? Because everything is entangled together. And then you got to think of the 6-foot rule. You're going to move a door over. Well, you got to look 6 feet around you because you've impacted something. You're going to impact something if you just, simple thing is move a door or a window or a cabinet. It's going to impact you. So you've got to have knowledge. You've got to have the experience. You've got to be able to understand the dynamics of the build as you're going through it. And you have to be able to coach and educate and counsel your client to what they're wanting to do or what's happening. And I think another big thing is honesty, because you know, if you're building a custom home, it's never been built before, and things happen during construction. You could get a window broken. Anything could happen, and I like to give my clients an ounce of inoculation. I like to tell them when I'm under contract with them that things are going to happen to the home. Don't worry, I'll take care of it. We're going to figure out how it happened, why it happened, and cure the problem. So those are some of the big points too, and how I handle money. Cost plus a percentage is the easiest way to go. Well, I've always said that the hardest part about any construction project, especially a home, is starting it and finishing it. So getting it out of the ground through the permitting and the engineering and the budgets and all the selections, and then getting it going is always a hard thing to do, especially if you're in a municipality and you got a lot of paperwork and a lot of permitting. And finishing a home is the absolute hardest part, because when you're at the back end and you're a couple weeks away from them moving in, everything is in, you're 100%. Well, you have 10,000 items to look at now, and you got to punch out every inch of the home. And if you wait to punch out at the end of the home, you've messed up big time, because you're going to end up ripping countertops out and cabinets out and all kinds of things. You need to punch the house out at every critical stage in the home. Like, you don't pour a foundation until you've measured every inch of that foundation and you've had the engineer inspect that foundation before you pour that foundation. You'll make sure everything is in per the selections and the options and the plans. I've got a document that I use when the house is 100% complete and they're about 4 or 5 days from moving in. I do a homeowner walkthrough, and it's a document where we walk every inch of the home, and that's that famous blue tape party. So we're putting blue tape for when the painter needs to make his final run. And then I'm making a list of any discrepancy that we see that needs to be addressed. And once we establish that walkthrough, and in the walkthrough, we're filling every tub, we're turning on every faucet, we're turning on all the appliances, we're opening all the windows, we're opening all the doors, closing all the doors, we're locking all the locks, we're doing everything. And that's how we make that discrepancy list. And then right next to that discrepancy, the clients have to initial buy it and agree to that list. And that's all I have to fix. And then I have a date line on that walkthrough list of when they can come back to sign off. That way it's not open-ended. And then when they come back, there's another line that they need to initial by each line stating it's completed, that it's fixed. And at the bottom of the page, they sign off stating that the home is 100% complete. And I accept the home as it stands. That takes it from construction to customer service, and it's done. I can walk away from the home knowing the house is 100%. And it also gives the client a peace of mind that the house is finished. But that's how I handle it, and I think it's a very good process. So it's been my pleasure today to be able to talk to you. I hope you all have got to see all this video and got to see the video of this home that I'm sitting in. This is one of the last homes I finished over here in North Texas. Go to my website, BuiltByBask. There's a lot more homes on it. You can contact me through that website. It has my emails on it. And it's been my pleasure talking to you today. Y'all have a good evening.